What's in your heart is going to be revealed through your obedience. If you claim that you love somebody and yet you have you take no responsibility of obeying this somebody whom you love, then really, your love is not true love, or it is questionable. If you say, I love my mom, I love my parents, but you never obey them, you never do things which they want you to do, all you care about is what you want to do, then do you really love them? I don't think so. In any case, so Islam is a religion of balance where you need your spiritual life as well as you need a law, some kind of dictate, some mandates which are going to govern your life. And this is going to be your true test. And this is where the 5 pillars come into the picture. You have to pray 5 times a day. You have to fast in the month of Ramadan. You have to give charity to the poor. You have to try to make pilgrimage to Mecca once in your lifetime. And we are going to talk about all of these later. So the third word is obedience. So now we got surrender, got submission, and now we got obedience. The fourth word is sincerity. And this is probably the most important word in Islam. So Islam means sincerity. What does this mean? Let's say there are 2 people and both of them are outwardly obeying God. There are 2 people, let's say, who go to the mosque. But the problem is that one of them goes there not to please God, but to show off his religiosity, to show off his piety, to show off how religious he is, how good he is, how righteous he is. So you see, the problem is the intention. So one person goes to the mosque and prays and does good deeds to please God, and he does not expect anything in return from others. But this other person, he's doing all of these acts of obedience, but deep inside his heart, his objective, his aim is not to please God, but to show off, to become popular, to be seen as a righteous person. That is why on the day of judgment, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said there will be 3 people who will be thrown in the hellfire because of their evil intentions. One of them is a scholar of Islam, the one who spent his entire life learning about Islam and teaching it to other people. But the whole point of him doing was not to please God, but to show off his knowledge, so that people will say, look at this guy, how knowledgeable he is. And this is why God is going to throw him in the hellfire. There's another guy who will be extremely generous. He will give a lot of wealth in charity. But once again, his purpose of giving charity, or his intention, is not to please God, but so that people will say, look at this guy, how generous he is, how nice he is. So God is looking for deeds, good deeds, which are done for him. And this is what makes Islam unique. Because in other religions too, you do things which are good. And there are lots of good people. I know many atheists who are better than many religious people. But the problem is they're doing good deeds not for God, but just because they're looking for something in them. They're either looking for peace in their heart to get to that. They're doing these good deeds, or they're doing it for some wrong reasons. And any reason besides God is a wrong reason in Islam. And that's where it's unique, because you already surrendered and submitted, remember? So you better be sincere with God. Every action is judged by God based on the intention behind it. If the intention is good, then that act is acceptable. If the intention is evil, then no matter how good that act might seem outwardly, that act is no good before God. So the fourth word is sincerity. So now we got surrender, submission, obedience, and sincerity. And now the final word, the most important word. Islam means peace. Peace. This is the same as shalom, or the Muslim greeting of peace, which I start my lessons with all the time. Salam alaikum, peace be upon you. It comes from the same root word. Islam means peace. Now, peace with whom? Peace with the Creator. This is what Islam guarantees. If you surrender and you submit and you obey God and you are sincere with Him, then you will be at peace with the Creator. And this is what we're looking for in this life. This was the whole point of our existence. That by the time we die, by the time you and me leave this life, we are in a state of peace with our Creator. For there can be nothing more sweeter than the peace with the Creator. So Islam essentially guarantees the peace with God. Now, does it guarantee peace with the people? Not all the time. If you look at the lives of the great prophets, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, you will see that they were at odds. They were in conflict with their societies. Because whenever you're going to speak the truth, there will be some people, or maybe a lot of people, who would reject you, who would not like you, because you're asking them to change their way of life. You're criticizing them for the evils they're doing. You're calling them away from the creation to the Creator. And this is a big change. And so Islam does not necessarily, essentially guarantee peace with the creation. But what you will see is that eventually you might struggle and you might be in conflict, but eventually, if you are steadfast and you are truthful and you are at peace with God, which is what really matters, then God is going to make peace through you on the earth. So peace with the Creator is going to, in the long run, result in peace on earth, because it will lead to justice, truth, it will lead to human rights, it is going to criticize all evil. So eventually you're going to lead the rest of humanity towards a society which will be much peaceful than the society you have without the truth, without the true justice, without the true laws. So this is what Islam means. Isn't it beautiful? First time I understood it, I just spent much time reflecting on it. I thought about its beauty. I thought about the amazing message it carries. So it's like a math equation. If you're into math, if you're into logic, you like those things, then you surrender and submit and you obey God and you are sincere with Him, then God will descend upon you. God is going to send to your heart the peace that you're looking for. And once you get that peace, then nothing will matter more than pleasing God and being in service to the Creator. So this is what the word Islam means. Now, what does the word Muslim mean? Very quickly. The word Muslim, in order to understand that, you need to understand just one rule about Arabic grammar. So in Arabic, just like in English, you add an ER at the end of the verb in order to understand the doer of the verb. For example, you have speak, speaker, talk, talker, swim, swimmer, walk, walker. So you just add an ER and that is understood to be the one, the person who's doing the action. In Arabic, you add a mu as a prefix to the verb. So for example, the one who calls the prayer, as many Muslims would know that already, is calling what? He's calling adhan. Adhan means the call to the prayer. So the person who calls to the prayer is called a muadhan. So you just add a mu before the verb. Similarly, the Arabic word safar, by the way, the word safari comes from the Arabic word safar, which means travel. So the one who travels is a musafir, or the one who's traveling, the traveler. So similarly, the word Islam, which is an action, as we said, to surrender, to submit, to obey in sincerity, to be at peace with God, these are not nouns. These are things you have to do, your heart is experiencing, your soul is experiencing. So the one who surrenders and submits and is sincere and obeys God and is at peace with the Creator is the one who is doing Islam, or in other words, Islam. And that is where the word Muslim comes. So the Muslim is anyone who is surrendering, submitting, obeying in sincerity and at peace with the Creator. This is who a Muslim is. And so by definition, if you look around, the nature is essentially Muslim. The sun and the moon are Muslims. They're doing exactly what God is telling them to do. They're in complete obedience. They're in complete sincerity with God. They are at peace with the Creator. The nature is at peace with the Creator. The animals are at peace with the Creator. The mountains and the rivers are at peace with the Creator. The only one who is not at peace with the Creator is the human race. So everything around us is a Muslim by definition. Also, the message of God was always Islam. You can call it with any other name. You can call it any other religion. But what was the message which was brought by Adam? What was the message which Noah brought to his people? What message did Abraham bring to his people? Moses and Jesus, what was their true religion? Their true religion was always Islam. They were all surrendering and submitting and in obedience and sincere with God. And they were all at peace with God. So they were all Muslims. So I hope now we understand what Islam means. Islam has nothing to do with the stereotypical definitions which we see on the media or the ones which are spread about by the enemies, those who hate Islam and those who want to misconstrue the message, the real message, and define them in a wrong way. So this is what Islam means and the word Muslim means. Finally, I just want to go to one more word, and that is the word Allah. Allah. Many times people have questioned me about the word Allah. I've had people come up to me and say, why don't you call God God? For that is his name. And sometimes I just laugh because God's name was never God. This is something which is so recent because the English language wasn't in existence until the year 1066 AD. So it's just 1,000 years old, and none of the scriptures is 1,000 years old. All the scriptures were sent before the word God came into existence because the English language wasn't in existence. So Jesus, peace be upon him, never called God God. He spoke the Aramaic language in which the word for God is Allah. Allah. And Moses, peace be upon him, Abraham, peace be upon him, never spoke English. They spoke the Hebrew language, in which the word for God is Elohim. Elohim. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, never spoke English. He spoke the language Arabic. And in Arabic, the name, the word which God uses for himself is Allah. Allah. So do you see the parallel in those three languages? Allah, Elohim, and Allah. They are all similar because that was the real name of God. And really, who should decide what God's name should be? Do you and me decide what God's name should be? Or should God decide what his name should be? Just like you and me would not like others to decide our names, would we? We would like ourselves to be the ones who make the decision, or our families. Similarly, God will tell us what his real name was. So if you open up, for example, the Arabic Bible, and this is another misconception that all Arabs are Muslim. Just like not all Muslims are Arabs, similarly not all Arabs are Muslims. So it's a tongue twister, isn't it? So the Arabic Bible, if you open up the Arabic Bible, you will find on the first page 17 times the word Allah. Because in the Arabic, that's the name of God. That's the word which God uses for himself. Now, why is it a better word than the word God? For two reasons. Number one, the word Allah cannot be pluralized. The word God can be. You add an S at the end, you go from God to gods. The word Allah is singular, so which conveys his monotheism, his uniqueness as the only one. He is singular. He cannot be made into two or three or four. So that is why the word Allah is a better word or better name for God. And secondly, the word Allah cannot be genderized. If you add an ESS after the word God, you will get goddess. The word Allah has no gender. Allah is not a male and Allah is not a female, which once again is a better description of God. Even though we do say He when we refer to God, but that's just because how the languages are. In reality, especially in Islam, there is no gender attributed to God, to Allah. So for these two reasons, the word Allah, and thirdly, because He Himself used it for Himself, then that is a better word to use than any other word which you and me can conjure up to call God. So I hope that we have gained some knowledge regarding the word Islam today, the word Muslim, and the word Allah. In our next episode, inshallah, God willing, Allah willing, I am going to proceed, and we're going to discuss a couple of more definitions. We're going to see what the word Quran means, and then we're going to jump to the historic message of Islam. We're going to go into the history of Islam. Who was Muhammad? Where did he come from? His biography. What was his message? What kind of a person he was? And once again, once you read his biography, you're going to fall into love with this man. I assure you, if you are truthful. So for all those who are the seekers of truth, I encourage you to surrender and submit and obey. Be sincere, so that you will all find the peace with God. With that, we end the second episode of Islam Unplugged. I'm really thankful to all of you who watched this video. I'm going to see you next time. Till then, take care of everyone around yourself, your families, your neighborhood. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you.